Hey everybody, welcome back to Colleague Conversations with me, Rick, and
me, Nain.
We weren't sure what we were going to talk about today, but I'm sure we'll find some really cool topics.
Yeah, we will.
One of the things that I was mulling over is the idea of how do I get to be better than I was the last time I trained? And, you know, it sounds like a simple answer, right? But if you're training stuff and you're doing things over and over again, and the old repetitious things that you keep constantly doing, and until somebody's there to stop you or say, hey, add this to that, or change this about that, or
think about it this way.
Right, or you get new instructions from your instructor. How do you do that? Especially if they're not, you only see them maybe once a week, twice a week if you're lucky, depending what kind of program you're set up for. But during your downtime, how do you make yourself better so when you go to the next class, you show improvement to your instructor, right? What do we always say? Oh, I always know when you guys are training right now, right? Oh, I can tell.
You can tell, yeah.
Your moves are identical to what they were the last time, and you haven't been training, so you almost have to tell the student, I know what you are or not doing.
Yeah.
But the problem is you as a student should take it upon yourself, okay, I do got to train. I do got to practice these things that were taught to me, and how do I get better at that? What's a motivating factor for me to practice at home when I'm not at the gym or at the studio?
Yeah. It's difficult. I mean, you get caught up in everyday life and the things that you have to get done that you don't always have the time to hit something for an hour or pick up your sticks.
Right.
And one of the things that the Blade of Mine has always pushed me is, if you don't have time to pick up the sticks, think about it.
Think about it, and what are you doing then?
You're really just taking the understanding behind it. Because you don't have any physical representation of what you're doing, then you have to think of whatever came before it. Why were you moving the way that you were moving? What was the lesson behind that particular drill or exercise that made it work, or did it work? What were the things that your instructor said that had nothing to do with the physical aspect of what you were doing, but with the thought process behind it? And how well do you understand that?
And the other part of that too is what we always tell our students, perfect practice makes perfect.
Right.
We always say that's idiotic.
No. Perfect practice makes perfect is idiotic. Perfect practice makes perfect.
Exactly. Like Danny would say, practice makes perfect. No, it doesn't. But practice, perfect
Right.
practice. And if you think along that lines, then when you get home and you're by yourself, and you're not with one of the instructors, you then really have to think about, like you were saying, think about what is behind everything that was taught to me today. I've always told students that it isn't enough to just understand what you were given for that particular day, but you have to go over it and understand, one, how do I make it work for my body type?
Right.
Two, what are the adjustments I need to make outside of what was given to me so that I can make it work
For my body type.
Yeah. And then by understanding that, then do I get motivated by saying, okay, they said to do this, but I can't do that, so here's what I have to do.
Right.
Here's what works for me and my body type. And I've always, people always say, well, then you're not really teaching anybody. I'm like, well, sure you are. Because you're getting them set in a particular mindset to take apart what was given to them, right? In class form, where everybody else is learning the same exact thing. But when they get out of our gym, they leave the dojo, wherever they're at, they go home, practice, and to get themselves better than they were when they left practice. You have to give them the idea that, okay, you are free to do whatever you have to do with this stuff that we've just given you, without consequences of, no, you're doing it wrong, that's not what I taught you, right? Because again, we talked about this last week,
Right.
where we say, no, the students can't do verbatim because of whatever the problem is.
Right.
The body type or physicalities, whatever.
And even the way that we remember information, we only really remember a certain percentage of what was said to us.
Right, the key elements If that.
If that. And then so it's then what do you emphasize? Do you emphasize the exercise itself? Well, if that's where their level is, then yes, of course. But once you get to that point where that emphasis is no longer needed, then you have to supplement with ideas and concepts, theories that would then make that work.
All right, so here I got a good question for you then. I taught you something.
Right.
What did you do with it? Right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
right? I gave you something. What did you do with it?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
It really is, yeah.
So you go home, you're just given something and you're like, okay.
Oh yeah. Phone, laundry, make food for the kids. Wait, did I train?
Yeah. And when you get to your training part though, what in that training did you
Right,
do?
what did you bring out?
What was your train of thought? All right, I was given 1 in 11. Then
Yeah.
right?
Well, I've appreciated you guys always give us hints before we leave our class. Because I remember when we first started with 1 in 11, you said, okay, there are this many other possibilities that you can do with 1 in 11. Figure them out and then come back and tell me what you found.
Right.
So it's almost like homework, but not in the sense of, oh, I have to repeat the information and write it down. It's more, I have to figure it out for myself, again, going back to the individual, and then can I discover those things? Nothing new that you haven't seen, but it's the process that, yeah, right? It's the process that I took. That's what you can tell the difference in, and that's why you can tell whether we've trained or not, is because what have we discovered beyond what was given us?
Right.
Famous words of Rico, don't look at it for what it is, look at it for what it can become.
Exactly. And this is what I'm getting at in this conversation, because a lot of times the students will only mimic,
Right.
repeat exactly what was taught, and work the hell out of that.
And don't think beyond it.
Yeah, and they get really good at it, and maybe they can get it to work from time,
It is,
a lot of
yeah,
times
yeah.
so well that, okay, but if they don't look beyond, as we do, we look beyond the skill, and we see all the other things that happen, like the attributes, the skill sets, all those little things that come of a simple 1 in 11, 1 in 11 angle, that it becomes, you become almost self-taught, but you're giving enough information to do that for yourself and say, okay, here's my 1 in 11. So if that be the case, how then should the student tackle the ideas of what's being given them? Because now we understand, we can play with this,
Right.
we can tweak it out to our needs. What then becomes essential for that student to understand?
I don't want to say it's pure creativity, but more of exploration. As where I'm at now with our training, you and I, you give me an idea, and by the end of me thinking about it, it doesn't resemble much of what you told me initially.
Right.
Because now I'm looking at everything that's either missing, that I didn't fully understand that part. Is that what he was trying to get to? Then I explore that. With everything that I know, I put it together and I explore this idea that came off your lesson.
Right.
Then I go back and like, would it fit in this? Well, oh wow, I have to make it fit to the lesson. It's not about whether or not it's right or wrong. It's, do I understand the lesson well enough to take it apart, take it all the way to left field, come back, and still work the same way that it was given to me?
So here's a big clue. All the lessons that we're giving, no matter what the instructor, what system, whatever, is a template, right? They give us, for karate, these punches,
Right.
boxing, it's these things. They give us an idea. You see what everybody else has done with it, but you, the individual, will make it something else.
You put it together how you want
You don't have any boxer,
Right.
even though they all do right cross, left cross, uppercut, whatever else. But when you look at Sugar Ray Leonard,
Oh yeah,
he's using all the same exact tools, but yet he makes it look so damn good.
right.
Then you take somebody like Tyson,
Oh.
who's just this big hulking guy, he does the same moves, but it's totally different. So you get this piece that we give you as instructors here. Make it your own.
Right.
Don't look at it for what it is. Look at it for what it could become.
Yeah, you can only give us the basics of what those things are. We give them names and labels so we can reference them later.
Right, the branding.
The branding. But at the end of the day, it's you who puts it together.
Right.
Because you're the one in the ring, you're the one on the mat, you're the one out in the street who has to use this stuff.
Right.
And if you're bogged down with using it the way it was taught to you specifically, it's never
Probably
going to work.
won't work. Yeah, probably would never work.
Right. Huh.
So this is your lesson for today, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
This is going to cost you $20.
Oh. Still charging me, huh?
A lot of the things that you're going to start to understand about the stuff that we give you, or things that I present to you and say, hey, look at this. Make yourself better with it. Right? You know, how do I make myself better? Oh, well, he gave me a new toy. How do I do that? Right? If I were to give you something as basic as just an idea, and the idea is that from going from right to left, how do you make that better? What? Right? The first question is, what do you mean, right to left? Is that a strike? Is that a, is that a step? Is that a movement or what?
It's all those things.
Right? So if I say, here's your lesson for today.
Okay.
This is it.
All right.
So first thing you figure out, okay, well that looks like what?
An angle 1.
Angle 1. Okay, so if this is the angle 1, I just gave you that lesson, right?
Okay.
So going from right to left.
That's it.
Okay, that's it. That's all I've been you. That's the idea. What do you do with it?
Ah.
Right?
How can I get right to left faster, stronger, with mechanics? I start putting in all the ideas that you've taught me along the way into this one lesson and evaluate it based off those things.
All right, so show me your one in the left.
So,
your one.
the
right?
initial
Yeah.
is this. This is what you taught me. But even that was different.
Right.
Why? Because I came back.
Ah, okay. So right to left, left to right,
Left to right.
or just a return?
It has to.
Right.
Because who's going to stay like this the whole time? Right.
Okay, so now what's next?
Now, well, how do I use this to actually hit you? Oh, I'm not even in the right range to do that.
Okay.
Oh, which means I need to learn how to.
Alright. So now you're breaking it down to what it needs to happen for it to work.
It actually use.
Then along that side, along that little method that you're just saying, then you take that and say, okay, I can get it to work, but is this right for me?
Mm-hmm.
Now how do I get this so that it works better for me? And all the things that you start adding on to that you start to realize, oh, well this is too simple, or just this doesn't have any power. Oh, now I'm starting to create all these, oh, there's a step in or the step back, whatever the case may be, that you start tacking on new, clay pieces or Legos, and just start building on this thing and turn it into something else
Right.
than what was original. Then as you go down the road, you start to get creative. Then you start to add your footwork. Then you use it as either a offensive piece or a defensive piece. And you start breaking everything down, you start going into it and say, oh, here's what this all becomes.
Right. This movement itself is no longer just one piece.
Right.
You start breaking it apart and seeing all the little pieces that could affect it, either by making it better, or making it worse. Take away the things that don't work in the process of you being able to achieve your goal, and you add things that will.
So here's the other caveat to that. When I said I was going to teach you right to left, I never said there was a tool in your hand.
No.
No weapons, nothing.
Because in my head I'm thinking elbow, shoulder check, oh I can knee, I can kick.
Right.
Oh.
But here it is, you took just an idea and said, oh, right to left.
Right.
And all of a sudden it's all these things that it turned into. Looking at it for what it was is just going, just make this motion.
Right.
What it became
It's everything
all
that
of
I
a sudden is all these things that you just talked about. Now they could all of a sudden, wow, that was a lot. For this one little simple
This idea.
Idea of right to left.
And then that's what we've been presenting, at least in this conversation at the beginning, the idea that when students do go home, they practice this to death. This over and over and over again. And they get really good at this. But it becomes nothing more than that.
Right, they come back to class and I say, what did you work on? And I look at them and say, you didn't do anything.
Anything.
You haven't practiced.
You did the exact same thing
Right.
over and over again.
And the thing is, Danny would say that when you're in class, you're learning something.
Right.
When you go home, you practice what you learn.
That's your training.
And that's when you go and turn it into whatever you're going to turn it into. And I always had the suspicion that in the beginning, students really don't understand that piece of it,
No.
right? They go home and they come back with the same exact thing that we gave them. And
Right.
say, you didn't train at all because nothing changed. change.
Right. And then we do focus, and I do remember back when we first started in the Bladed Mind, and it was presented in a sense that way. All right, you repeat this, you get better at it. Me personally, I missed all the other stuff behind it says do something different with it, which is essentially what it broke down to. So the instructions were given and certain verbiage was said, but again, it's missed because for most of us, we are not conditioned to be that way.
Exactly.
Most everything that we're taught throughout life, any sport, school, it's like do it this way. This is the right way to do it. You'll get the right answer every single time. What if I can't do it that way? Am I just dumb?
And that's where the Bladed Mind is so different to a lot of other systems, in that we understand that there are different body types, different physicalities, different mentalities.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we kind of cater to the idea that okay, you are an individual. I'm going to give you something, and however you understand it, because of your level of understanding, it's going to conform to you, and not you conform to it.
Right.
Which is what everybody else, gets you to try to do. This is how you're going to have to fight. We only do it this way. You can't do it any other way. You're going to conform to us, and that doesn't seem right, or it doesn't settle well, because if my body type can't do that, then I really can't stay in your school. Right. That means you're limiting who can learn what you're teaching, because your body type just won't allow it.
It's disheartening for a lot of people.
Yeah. Because they get excited in the first 2 weeks.
To, yes, they want
get
to.
the key, they get the bell,
I can do this.
Get in there, and then the instructors say, okay. Well,
why can't I get it? Why can't I get it? I keep doing it the way everybody else is doing it, and it doesn't work for me.
So that makes for an understanding that I need to change the way I'm being taught something. Or I need to look at it differently, and which is what we do. We tell the students, here's the basic idea of this. What can you do?
Right.
And where can you take it? And where can it go with your level of understanding, or the way you see it?
Yeah. And you definitely have to harbor this sense, security really, for a student to make mistakes.
Yeah. And Greg, you're exactly right, because we will not jump on the student who can't figure something out.
Right.
Because most new students, if not all, don't understand what we're doing. My wife, who is in the medical field, she comes home every once in a while and she says, oh, the patients are so stupid, I tell them to do X, Y, Z, and they just don't know. And I have to remind her, they're not medical people.
Right,
they're not nurses or doctors. Of course they're not going to know what that means. And of course they're not going to be able to follow what you're saying, because they have no clue what you're talking about, first of all.
Seeing it for the first time.
Yeah, until you actually tell them, here, and give it the why,
Right.
They won't be able to follow your instructions, because they just have never been there. Same thing here. As a student, I give you something, and I should know that you have no clue what I'm talking about. So I literally have to break it down before I can get you to expect to do it right.
Ooh. I have a question for you then in reference to that. If you have to break it down for a student in order for them to understand it properly so they can train it properly at home, how do you keep from having to spoon feed them?
That's awesome, because what I've done, or at least the way, even when I'm teaching you, and unbeknownst to you, I do it all the time.
Right.
I'll give you something, let's say 1 in 11, right? And we play with it, and you get it down, and you kind of have a new idea, or I'll use it as a hook or whatever else. But the moment that I see you're not understanding what I'm doing, but what I did see was that you were trying. You tell me, oh, I went this way, so you went this way, and what do I always say? No, you went in the wrong direction. You fell short of where that should go. But during that time when you first left the gym, to when you came back for your next class, there was something there. It's not like you didn't do anything with it.
Right.
I could see, oh yeah, you tried this, you tried that. That
fell off
wasn't
the
right.
cliff.
Right. So to me, I'm not spoon feeding anymore. You tried everything that you could imaginably think about, and I'm saying no, it didn't go anywhere. Then I have an obligation as an instructor to say, okay, think of it this way. And then what happens?
Things just light bulb.
Yeah,
It clears up.
Now I see why that didn't work. Oh
Right.
yeah, you're right. This direction would be a bad idea. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Right?
you've always let me express my ideas first. And then you're like, see, it didn't quite work the way you thought it would. No, it didn't. Let's explore
And
why.
that leads to the idea that your level of understanding was not there yet. You had to grow a little bit more. You had to get a little more ideas of stuff on how they work and how they should work, so that your level of understanding then moves up, and then you become where you need to be.
So wow, no, that part really does fall on the student.
Of course,
There's nothing as an instructor you can
And
really
that's
do.
why we say when you go home, you need to practice this stuff.
Right.
Make sure you know.
Practice it the way we gave it to you, not so much just what we gave you.
Right. And then when you get back and I see there's improvement left or good or bad,
Right.
then I'll step in and say, okay, here.
Yeah, let's figure out a better way of doing it.
Then I don't see it as spoon feeding.
Ah.
Then I see it as you tried everything good, and you had some fairly decent ideas, and you kind of thought about that right, but that falls short. Now try this. Then you grow because then you already know the things you shouldn't do. Right?
That's true.
So now when you go home again after this next class, you're thinking differently all of a sudden. Your mindset is of, okay, that was a bad idea last time when I did this, but this is what, now I'm kind of guiding you, not so much spoon feeding,
Right.
but I gave you another trajectory to try and say, oh,
Right turn
Yeah,
instead of
right?
left.
so that's how that should be done.
Huh.
It shouldn't be that, you're right, we don't spoon feed the students, here,
Yeah, right.
this,
Here's the answer.
Yeah. And,
Copy.
because for us, there really is no real answer.
No.
Right? It's the individual that takes it wherever it's going. And wherever that goes is right for that student.
Right. So allowing the student to make those mistakes, to grow off.
That's part of the
wrong
That's
direction.
part of the learning process. Because if you realize that, oh, this is all wrong, then you probably won't follow that path anymore, right? Or we would hope not.
Yeah.
And that's how you should start to get how you will grow and how you start to make yourself better. Because you are trying, prior to coming back to show whether it was right or wrong, you're trying.
Right.
You're working ideas out. You said, okay, this is this. All right, here's what I did while I was at home, teacher. And you show, and I said, that's exactly what it should be. Or, no, not quite.
Not quite.
Now let's look at this and try it this way. And then you start to realize, oh, I got it.
Oh, I definitely realized why it took 6 years for me.
You kept going around the wrong
I
path.
kept going
You
left.
were distracted. Damn kids got in the way. But yeah, in that, and I'm glad that you asked that. Are we spoon feeding?
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
if we break something down to enough bits, it's like, here, take this bite, take this bite.
Yeah.
All right, now let's put it together, and that just seems too long of a process.
No, and you don't ever see me.
No.
That just isn't the way I'm going to show you something. I'm going to make you work for the answers that I'm going to give you.
Right.
Rather than
You don't just give them to me.
Yeah, rather than just give it to you. No, I'm going to say, okay, what did you try? And you try, here, try this thing.
It's become clear too how you hide your intent in the way that you show things. Like,
Oh.
oh yeah, we're gonna play with 1 and 11. I want you to step this way, step this way, step this way. Now, why did I have you do that? Well, cause. All right, now let's think about it for a second, and we talk it through. We talk through, and eventually we get to the point where the initial